Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Hope for Felons. You can reach us on our website at www.hopeforfelons.com. And also, I want to remind you that when you go to the website, there is an extensive resource list that is available that will help the inmates transition from prison back to the community. There's a lot of resources such as clothes, um, I think medical, a lot of different resources that's on there. And if there's a particular need that you're looking for, please reach out to me. There's several ways on the website you can reach out to us, and we will try to get you the help that you need. Um, we want to dive right in today to try to get this podcast done. It's a much needed podcast. It's one I wanted to do for several weeks, but was not able to. And that is the two things we want to talk about today is the coronavirus in prison and also the recent issues with police brutality and use of excessive force. Um, so I want to jump right in there and I hope this podcast will better explain everything to you and give you more tools that will help you in today's society. Uh, the issue with the coronavirus in prison, we all know it's hard for those individuals to do the social distancing thing, and that is a major concern. And they're not able to use the hand sanitizer and everything like we do um, out here in the real world. So everything makes it very difficult. And the fact that they have not had any visits in some time. So these inmates are really stressed out. So I know they're going through a real rough time. And there's some of them, due to the death of George Floyd, they've been on lockdown too for a while, so there haven't been any communication between the inmates and the outside. So we really have to keep those people in prayer because that is a very serious situation mentally when you're locked up and then you cannot have no contact with your family at all. So please keep those people in your prayers. You can go to www.bop.gov and you'll also see a list of inmates that have passed away due to the coronavirus. It gives a lot of information. It gives what they were sentenced for, how long they got sentenced, how long they've been incarcerated. Um, it's a lot of good resources there. So please take advantage of that. And also on the website, there is a section that's broken down into race, what the population of all inmates are. And I spoke with a psychologist the other day, and I was telling her, I said, years ago, there was always more black inmates that was incarcerated than white inmates. But now it's the other way around. As you know, that in the past few years there has been a lot of laws that was passed that mainly affected the black community, and a lot of those people got released. And so now, when you look at it, there's more white inmates than there are black inmates, which is a very big change. And it's for the better because there has been a lot of issues with the black community getting way more time than what they should. And I think now they are trying their best to get that under control, but they still have a ways to go because they're still given way too much time for a lot of these sentences. And when you look at it, a lot of it could better be dealt with, um, doing, you know, um, more discussions and, more help. There's help that can be done with rehabilitation in a way that would it would save us so much more money because we wouldn't have to deal with as much incarceration as what we do. And but we want to also talk a little bit about the death of George Floyd and the excessive force that was used. You know, it really hurt me. As soon as I saw that, I sent the clip of the officer actually putting his knee on that individual, and I sent it to my mother, and she said, "Did you see that? That officer put his knee on the neck of that black guy." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "That's horrible." I said, "That is a big issue. Even if you look at cops, you will see they use that same tactic in those shows. And it's simply not great. It should be done away with. But this is one thing I want to say. This is talking about law enforcement as a whole. When we look at law enforcement as a whole, I look at it as a bag of apples. If you go to the store and you see a bag of apples, but then you see one rotten apple in there, then you know what? You're simply not going to buy it, and nobody's going to buy it. Well, that's the same thing with law enforcement. There's bad officers and there's good officers. And, right now it's actually hard to be able to distinguish a lot of times what officers are good and what officers are bad until they make a big mistake you know, and that's what happened in the George Floyd incident. I've been doing a lot of extensive research on that, and it sounds to me like that officer was racist indeed, that went out there and arrested George Floyd. So, but that's one thing I don't really understand, and it's hard for me to relate to that because all of my life we've had black families and white families in our home eating with us. So, and I have a lot of very close black friends, so I've never had to deal with racism. And I know that in the black community, um, a lot of the black community has dealt with racism all of their life, but I spoke with a few um, individuals which are black, and they told me that here in the community in which we live, she's the same age as me, and she said that she has never encountered any racial issues in our community at all. So, I think a lot of it depends on where you're at, and some people has had to deal with it a lot different. But I am here to say I know there's still issues with racism, and it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. And if you look at the protesting that is going on now, you will see that the majority of the people is not only black, but you have a lot of white community that has actually stepped in trying to help support the black community, which we all know that some of those organizations are not good, and they actually do cause harm. But you have a lot of people trying to do peaceful protesting, which is good. It's good to see that, and but we really need to understand here that do you really feel that by dismantling the police department is a good thing? That's been a big question. But I look at it like this: if somebody breaks in your home or somebody's coming up the driveway that means harm to you, the first thing you're going to do is call 911 for an officer to come out to the house. But by dismantling the police department, even if you relocate funds to different areas, you're going to run into issues where there's not enough staff to deal with all of the issues that come in on the 911. So we have to be more understanding what we ask for. We can't ask for stuff that's crazy, that's not realistic. We have to look at, okay, if we need funds, more funds, and which we do, we actually need a lot more funds for inmates that are being released from the prison back into the community that will help those individuals. But for a long time, we have not had that. And a lot of these inmates are having a hard time making it, and their result normally is in another crime. And that's why the recidivism rate is so high. But I think that there is an issue, and I think it needs to be addressed. And I think right now they're trying to address it, and mostly I think in the local communities, they're trying to address the issue. So, I think one thing that we have to do here, nothing in the government happens overnight. So I believe that we have to give them time to do what they want to do. So that is my thought for today, and I hope y'all keep me in your prayers so my hand heals up good. And until next time, be safe. And remember, it's not all about us, it's also about those that are keeping us safe. That God will not only protect us, but also protect them in their line of duty. Thank you, and God bless you.